What's good? What's good? What's good, fans? How y'all doing today? This nice Sunday afternoon. Cleveland, what's the weather like there? It's June now. What we doing in June up there in the Northwest?
Not bad. Starting to get a little warmer. It was about 75, 76 this yesterday. It's about
Woo! 75, 75, 76, huh? Fresh air. So we
warmer.
seeing a lot of shorts and t-shirts out there in the streets.
Correct. Yes. Yes. Yes.
Woo! Look at Seattle trying to come around. Finally joining. Finally joining us summertime. It's a muggy 98 today
Ooh,
with
wow.
90% humidity. Yeah, it's nasty, fans. This is a different type of weather down here in the South, as they say it. Um, yeah. Oh, he got him on the run. He got Alcatraz on the run and just hit them with a little softy. Alcatraz is running. That one he couldn't get it done. I think I don't know the scoring, man. It looked like it Alcatraz over here beat. I thought that was it. He had
Well,
Alcatraz.
well, 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 Cameron, considering this is a generational talent, if you could please refer to him as Alcaraz. Alcatraz is a prison, and
Alcaraz. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Hey, fans, this is a tennis game. I'm not much into tennis. At least this is a what you call it, Cleveland, a Grand Slam. So it's worth watching.
it's
It
true.
was what it was worth watching. They were competing at the beginning. But we want to thank you guys for tuning in to the Voice of the Fans podcast. Give yourself a round of applause this morning, this afternoon, wherever you're listening. We got to introducing a new segment, fans. I'm excited about this segment. Um, the segment is called Moments of Sports, where each week we will identify a moment in sports, and we want to talk about just as sports fans or pundits what this actually meant to the sport, and kind of can you remember where you were when this happened, and about the sport. So we got an interesting moment in sports that I want to relive today, if you guys will. But Cleveland, we got to relive. Thank you guys for tuning in and once again to the Voice of the Fans podcast. Please hit the like button. Please hit the subscribe button. All that helps in the algorithm, man. Helps your boy stay alive. It allows me to. It gives me time actually to get some of this editing done that I do for you guys. I enjoy bringing this content to you guys, but I'm not charging you for the content, so I need your help. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the share button. That's all I ask. Again, as of now, I'm not charging you for the content, so just please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the share button. If you're inclined, leave a comment. Tell me if you like the show. If you passing on the show because you don't like the show. Why you don't like the show? So any comments, complaints, concerns you have in the about the show, add them in the comment section. I'm a big boy. I can take brutal facts, and that's what you're giving me. I hope you're giving me brutal facts. Um, Cleveland as well. So Cleveland, we got to relive Game One of the NBA Finals. Uh, One of the things I questioned coming into the season was Kristaps Porzingis gonna be a factor on the Boston Celtics. He hadn't been a factor for the Dallas Mavericks. He hasn't been well. His best season as far as number wise was with the Washington Wizards. Um, but they weren't winning. So was he just looter in a riot, putting up big numbers on a bad team? So he goes to the Boston Celtics, and shout out to Pavi who said, "Who's going to be a better number four on any team that they play? Who would be a better number four than Kristaps Porzingis?" Which kind of put things in perspective, and it made sense, so to speak. And boy, the way this kid came off the bench on Thursday night, Cleveland, you'd have thought there wasn't a better player in the NBA than Kristaps Porzingis. What's your thoughts on Kristaps Porzingis? Is this sustainable? What he did on Thursday night, and is this going to be a Boston route?
Well, a couple of things. I've always thought that Kristaps, when given the opportunity to play in the playoffs, definitely elevated the level of his game and played better than the stats during the regular season would indicate. Um, people forget he is 7'3" and is a problem on the perimeter and also in the interior. So has all around game.
He ain't always played like that, man. Yes, he has a size, but
As
he ain't.
as I said earlier, he typically tends to raise the level of his game during the playoffs and plays a little bit better than his numbers during the regular season would indicate. But that being said, he also has a tendency to kind of be hit or miss. So he'll have a great game and then he'll kind of disappear for a couple games, and then he'll have a great game, and some weird injury will happen and he'll be out for the rest of the series. So that's kind of how this playoffs season started for the Celtics. He was playing really well against Miami, and then he got hurt, missed the next two series, and he comes back fresh and healthy with probably a little bit of chip on his shoulder, playing his old team. And the first game, if the first game is indicative of how he's going to play for the rest of the series, then yeah, it's not going to be close. But I don't foresee him playing like this for the entire series, not for the entire NBA Finals.
All right, Cleveland. So you did write an article, and fans, this is Cleveland calls himself this time. This is his time of year, and he self-proclaimed all things sports, and he wrote this article. What was the name of the article, Cleveland? And where can the fan find this?
What it takes to win an NBA championship, and they can find it on voiceofthefans.org.
Alcaraz looks like he's up 3-1 here in this final set. So Cleveland, where does KP rank in your rankings?
His usual suspect.
Usual suspect.
Yeah, he's been to the playoffs a few times. It's not uncommon to see him in the playoffs.
So just if you're on a team that shows up in the playoffs, you become a usual suspect. I mean, you don't even have to be a factor. You don't have to be a factor in your squad. You can just show up in the playoffs. So by that definition, Adam Morrison was a usual suspect.
That's not what I'm saying, Cam. This is one of your
understanding. I'm just trying to get an understanding.
I'm trying to clarify.
Please.
Yeah, you do have to be like a top 3, top 4 player on the team in order to be categorized as a usual suspect. And I believe Kristaps is probably their 3rd or 4th best player.
3rd or 4th?
Yeah. I think when he was with Dallas, he was probably their 2nd best player behind Luka.
Let me see. Did he make the playoffs with the New York Knicks?
No.
And so that's 4 seasons out the way. He only played in Dallas. He had 2 stints in Dallas for 3 years and made the playoffs maybe once when Luka was leading the charge. Did he make the playoffs as the Washington Wizard?
He did not make the playoffs as a Washington Wizard, no.
So in less than half his career, he's made the playoffs, and he's a usual suspect.
Yeah, we can't call him a first timer, Cam, because he's been there before. He's been there and he's done that. So the question is whether he can, continue to sustain that high level of performance in the playoffs.
Cleveland spent a lot of time on this article, fans. It's well worth the read. But if you've been watching the show or been part of the show for the last couple of weeks, you just have been knowing I've been poking holes in his logic and theory for the last few weeks. So you want to qualify him as a usual suspect,
correct?
And then you just said he's 3rd or 4th on the team.
3rd or 4th best player, yeah.
So that means he's better than a Derek White. You have him better than a Derek White.
Yeah, he's better than a Derek White.
You have him better than champion, NBA champion Drew Holiday.
Well, no, Drew would be like perhaps the 3rd best player on that team, right?
Let's stop hemming and hawing and take a stance. Let's not stop hemming and hawing. Is he the
I have no problem saying Drew Holiday is the 3rd best player on that team.
So that would push him to number 4. Is he better than Al Horford? Has he been better than Al Horford? Not did he have a better game than Al Horford? Is Kristaps Porzingis better than Al Horford?
Yes.
Cleveland, are the Celtics this good, or are they only this good with Kristaps Porzingis playing the way he plays?
I don't think that they're as good as the final score of game one would indicate, but I think that this is, potentially the NBA champion here. So, let's take it at face value for what they are. I think that they most certainly have more talent, from 1 to 12 than the Mavs, but they also have a tendency to play with their food. So they get themselves into situations. It even happened in game one. They were up by 29 and then it went down to 12 and then they had to recalibrate and turn it back on. So, if they do that, if they make that mistake a few too many times with Luke and Kyrie out there, they could find themselves on the wrong end of history.
So do we expect Dallas to come out looking shook again and go 7 for 27 from deep? Do we expect that to happen again?
No, we don't. We expect them to have a much better shooting game than they had in game one.
And what are the chances that Kyrie goes 0 for 5 from deep in this series? I mean, Kyrie missed some wide open shots. What's the chances of that happening?
Little or no chance. Kyrie will probably make the necessary adjustments and have a much better game in game two than he had in game one.
With 7 days off, were you surprised that Luka Doncic was looking for the sideline to be subbed out the game late in the first half or first quarter? Excuse me.
No, he's always had trouble with his conditioning. Even dropping a little bit of the weight and stuff, he's still not tip top shape wise.
But he had 7 days off.
You don't know what he was doing with those 7 days. He was probably just resting and relaxing a lot of those aches and pains, getting ready for the NBA Finals. So it's not like he did a whole bunch of conditioning with those days off.
You're not accusing Luka going to the hookah bar and having a couple of cigars, are you?
I mean, we don't know what Luka was doing, Cameron.
Oh my goodness gracious! Oh wow! Oh my goodness!
He's the most focused, locked in player that we've ever seen. I believe Luka likes to have his fun a little bit.
Well, maybe that was the case, but this is the NBA Finals. You don't think he's trying to focus had a little focus set in, and talking to Kyrie kind of got him to focus a little bit more for these?
Well, I mean, talking to Kyrie is not going to get anybody to focus anymore. That's not one of those things.
Here you go. Here you go. Kyrie has been on his 100% best behavior all season long. Here we are, it's June. He's been on his best behavior since October, and you don't want to give the kid any credit for recalibrating his focus. It's about time that you give the man some credit now.
He's susceptible to snapping at any moment, Cameron. We've seen it over and over again. So yeah, let's not get too overconfident and Kyrie just being this model citizen that you've been referring to him as.
You've heard his maturity.
I've heard his rhetoric. I've heard all of his press conferences. I've seen the ones that you keep sending me about his maturity and how he's a leader, on and off the court, and how close his team is. Yeah.
You're not buying none of it.
Zero.
I mean, when does it change? When does the narrative change for Mr. Cleveland? That's what I want to know. When does the narrative change?
Consistency over time. So I mean, if maybe he
over time, it's been 9 months.
What is 9 months?
That's been a change in his demeanor, and it should have changed your perception.
John Morant said the same thing, and then what happened? Zion Williamson said the same thing, and then what happened?
You talking about John Morant, Zion Williams, who's 25. Kyrie is 30 now.
Oh, okay.
When does the perception change for you?
14, right? Okay.
When does the perception change for you? Is the question.
I said consistency over time. At least give me another year of this. Don't give me 9 months, and then all of a sudden it gets to be summertime, and you're out there boycotting at the Olympics in Paris. We don't. We don't know what Kyrie.
He wasn't invited to the Paris. Well, I mean, he'll be there on his own dime.
Still might go, and still might have something to say. Right? That wouldn't be so out of line for Kyrie, right? I wouldn't be so out of character, right?
Oh my goodness, this guy. I'm asking, trying to get understanding is when does things change?
I just said, give me another year of this.
Oh my goodness, this is cold. This guy is so cold. All right, so Cleveland, if this is an all-time great Celtics team on the verge of putting up another banner, how many banners will this be for the Celtics? Should they be putting one up? You have the Celtics winning in 7, so how many banners will this be?
I think this will be 17.
I think it'll be 18, won't it? I think it'll be 18. I mean, they'll be tied with the Lakers should they actually win this. And we have a generational player in Luka Doncic. We have generational revival or renaissance of a player. One of the Would you call Kyrie one of the most exciting players? Would you no one could argue he's probably has the best handles in the game, or arguably the best handles in the game. LeBron called him the most gifted in the game. I don't know about that one, but he's had a revival of sorts. With all that being said, Cleveland, why is this a lowest rated NBA Finals, or Game One was? Why was this the lowest rated NBA Finals, Game One in NBA Finals since 2008? Minus the Mickey Mouse Championship that happened a few years ago. You know that Mickey Mouse Championship that happened during the COVID year.
Okay, well, first and foremost,
You won that one?
that wasn't a Mickey Mouse championship because championships aren't Mickey Mouse; they're earned. Secondly, this is not an all-time great Celtic team by any stretch of the imagination. They've been
Is not an all time great Celtics team.
no.
They're blowing teams out. They've been blowing teams out. They lost 2 games this NBA during this NBA playoff. They lost 2 games. What's the record?
Well, they've been incredibly fortunate to play all of those series with the other team's best player not being healthy enough to play an entire series. So
Is that their fault?
it's not their fault, but it also doesn't make them an all-time great team.
Simply because the other teams were injured when they played the Boston Celtics. That's what
Yeah, and this team has a tendency to play with its food, and so far has not shown the propensity to just completely, dominate their opponents when their opponents are at full strength. So, with regard to Kyrie Irving, yeah, I mean he's got the best handles in the game. When focused and intent on taking over a game, he certainly has the ability to do so. I don't know if he has the best skill set in the league, as LeBron was saying, but he certainly has his moments.
So, hmm, I guess you didn't fall for the bait there. I was trying to get you to say this is a great Boston Celtics team, but you're not willing
I
to
know
give
too much
me.
about him to say that. So yeah, I'm not falling for the banana in the tailpipe. Thanks so much for asking.
But 15-2, what's the record? I mean, there's a team that went 15-1, and they were lauded as one of the better teams, and still
In the history of
lauded
basketball. Yeah,
as one of the better teams. And you
correct.
like to bring up, oh, only Ty Lue was on that team, and
There was
one of the most memorable moments of that game was Ty
the
Lue
most
gets
one of the most memorable moments in NBA Finals history.
what happened. I mean, that was in Game 1 in a
I
loss.
hope, I hope that's one. I hope that's one of the moments that we get to talk about, Cam. Since you want to add new segments to the show, I hope that's one of them. We can relive that short in slow motion over and over again.
What, the Lakers lost? That's what you want to see, the Lakers
The stomp. We call it the stomp or the step over, whichever.
again. So that team, right, that we're talking about, those 2000 Los Angeles Lakers went 15-1, correct?
The 2001. 2000 they beat Indiana. 2001 they beat Philadelphia.
So if that was one of the best teams in NBA history, the Celtics are 15-2. I mean, that means they're not far off the pace. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Would that be accurate?
The examples of who the Lakers beat that year, and what they were able to accomplish, and the nucleus of that team far different than this one.
So we just can't go by the numbers, is what you're saying?
Yeah, sometimes stats don't tell the whole story, as I've been saying for 12 years now, Cam.
So this is the lowest rated just because what? Nobody have faith in Boston?
There's not a lot of star power, and there's not a lot of confidence in either team, really. Jason Tatum is not a household name if outside of the basketball circle. Luka is probably the biggest name outside of just with regards to a casual NBA fan. Kyrie to a certain extent.
Worldwide, Slovenia, in Spanish, in Spain, Luka's a worldwide known player.
Right. So Luka is probably the biggest name in this series, and that's not like a huge name.
Wow, that's great. Playing with on the Boston Celtics, who's a legacy team in the NBA. Mm-hmm. That was surprising to me to hear that this was the lowest rated NBA Finals, or Game 1 was the lowest rated in Game 1 NBA Finals since 2008. Minus, and we're not counting the Mickey Mouse Finals.
And let us not forget, Boston hasn't won a championship in 16 years. So
since 2008.
Yeah.
Did that long wait hurt? Do you think that long wait hurt the NBA's the playoff momentum? Alcaraz is up 4-2 now in the fifth set here. Did that long wait? Do you think that hurt the NBA?
No, I think. I mean, perhaps a little bit. I guess I go back and forth with that. Kind of like if you're like in the groove, you kind of want to stay in the groove, and if you take a week off, I guess it depends on like the storylines, right? I think if this was, let's say the Lakers versus the Sixers, I think all that buildup would be good for the league. But considering that there weren't really, I mean, it was a lot of.
You don't have to. What do you mean a lot of the storylines? You got KP coming back and playing against his former team. You have Kyrie going back and playing against his former team. I mean, that's a good storyline there. You got two black head coaches, which hasn't happened since 1975. You have Boston Celtics trying to even up the Lakers to win the most finals, or tie for the most final NBA finals in league history. You got Luka competing, who's a nationwide generational type talent, trying to earn his first NBA finals. You got Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum not competing for who's the best on their squad, but they're finally they've been in NBA finals a couple years ago. They've been into the NBA Eastern Conference Finals 5 years out of the last 4 out of the last 5 years, with their chance to earn the NBA finals. I think there's a lot of storylines here. I was very surprised, and maybe just because I'm an NBA fan, I was very surprised that this was one of the lowest rated finals since that Mickey Mouse Finals of 2020. We all know what was going on there. I was very surprised, and I just gave you a slew of storylines. You're not buying into any of them.
It's not me that's not buying into it. The country's not buying into it. I mean, those are compelling for people that like myself and like yourself that are avid NBA fans. But the numbers don't lie. It shows that they weren't interested to that extent. You know what I'm saying? Like obviously, the numbers are exponentially higher when the Knicks are doing well, right? The numbers are exponentially higher when the Lakers are doing well, and there's been this narrative that just anybody can pick up the torch and carry the league. It's like, okay, well, fans say different.
Now, fan, did you hear this? Did you hear this guy? Did you just hear what he just said? He just tried to slip it in there, like he just tried to slip it. Since the Lakers aren't in the finals, not many people care about the finals. Is that what your synopsis is?
I didn't say that. I mean,
That's what
this,
it sound like.
with the
That's
Mavericks
really
being
what it
there,
sound like.
with the Mavericks being there, I mean, that would be better than, like, say, if the Clippers were in the NBA Finals. I'm not sure anybody would be watching.
You see, fam? He just trying to take shots at everybody in the league. Because if the Lakers aren't in it, it doesn't mean anything. If the Knicks aren't in it, I'm surprised to hear him say that the Knicks were in it. We'd obviously have more people interested if the Knicks were in it, because that would exponentially raise the interest.
Yeah, well, personally, I love to see the Knicks in it, because I know it's not going anywhere, and it's hilarious to watch, the heartbeat of 25 million people simultaneously just stop when they lose, knowing that they weren't actually going to go anywhere. So it's like a running.
So that might, when you mention that might have something to do with this, since the Knicks were exited and escorted off the playoff race. Maybe that took a number of NBA fans with them. Do you think that had anything to do with it?
Took a slew of NBA fans with it. Yeah.
Interesting. So, what do we expect for Game 2? I don't expect the Mavericks to shoot as poorly as they did. I don't. I could be wrong, but this is when Kristaps is 5'2", Alcaraz in the final set. I don't. KP had 3 blocks in that game. A couple chase down blocks where I thought it looked like the players, a couple players didn't realize that dude was 7'2" on the floor. But I don't expect KP to have the impact that he had in Game 1. I don't expect the Magic, the Mavericks, to shoot like they did in Game 1. If Doncic is tired, man, and he can't get through one quarter without signaling for a sub, like that was very concerning. That's very concerning to me. I don't know where they stand. I mean, obviously he doesn't have. They're coming off in Game 2. They're coming off of 3 days rest, 2 days rest, really, versus a 7 days rest. And if he was doing that in 7 days, like, yeah, well, I don't know what he was doing. I don't know where it was at. But my goodness, if you can't be healthy in the Game 1 after a 7-day rest, that's very concerning. But I don't expect, all that being said, I don't expect them to come out. I mean, Doncic had a good game. He only had 1 assist. He had 30 points, but 1 assist. That's because they were missing easy buckets. They were missing shots that they've been making in the previous weeks. So I don't expect them to shoot, again, 7 for 27 from deep. I don't expect them to miss the easy shots. And then we know that Boston, as you mentioned already, Boston has a tendency to kind of let the opponent back into the game. They tried to do it the other night, but Dallas could not make shots, or weren't making the shots that they've been typically making. They narrowed that 29-point lead down to 8 points, and a couple blocks, a couple turnovers. Jaylen Brown was a difference in that specific run then. So I don't expect that to happen again. Cleveland, what do you expect to happen tonight? And so actually, I got 2 questions for you. What do you expect to happen tonight? And do you agree with Jason Kidd that Jaylen Brown is a better player on the team?
I expect the Boston Celtics to win this game by probably 7 or 8 points. And
sorry, isn't that the spread? You going with Vegas, huh?
Well, I didn't even look at it. Am I that good? Is that really what the spread is?
I think it is. I'm looking at it right now. It's 6.5, 6.5.
Okay. So I'm right on point. I think that they'll win by about 7 or 8 points.
You don't give me 8 points?
No, I'm not. I'm not.
You want to give me 8 points? 8 points?
I'm not wagering on the Boston Celtics by any stretch of the imagination. I know better than that.
I mean, you just beating yourself on the chest,
right?
I'm not good.
Prediction. You asked me.
Give me 8 points.
You asked me.
I got the Mavericks tonight in 8 points.
You asked me the question. What did I expect to happen? I just so happened.
The Mavericks tonight in 8 points. Are you confident? How confident?
Without actually looking at the spread, but as we've been talking this entire show, Boston has a tendency to play with its food, and I have no confidence that they're going to actually do that. That's what I think should happen. Now, whether that actually happens or not, I'm not willing to wager any type of anything on that. Part two of your question, it was a cool sneak diss, if you will, by Jason Kidd, trying to cause dissension within a team that's really rolling well and try and call somebody else the better player. That's not really actually the better player because they're right now. You know, that was kind of like, okay, yeah, you need a little extra something for your team to let's try and sabotage their team. And fortunately, Jason Tatum didn't fall for it. He took a very professional high road to that question, and yeah, nice try, Jason. I like it.
You can't be mad at him for trying to throw pour a little salt
Definitely cannot. Yeah, especially if
there's
never been any question about it. Like, oh, okay.
You can't be mad at Jason for adding a little hot sauce to the mix.
Oh.
All right, fans. So I got the tonight. I think the Mavericks, they can't play as bad as they did. I don't expect the Celtics to go off on this 20-point run in the first quarter like they did in game one. I think this would be a much closer game. I was trying to entice Cleveland into giving me the 7 points, 7 to 8 points. He wants no parts of it. I think the Mavericks come back and tie the series up tonight. Do you like the 2-2-1-1-1 format better, or the 2-3-2?
2-2-1-1-1 is much fairer. Yeah. I like the new format.
I'd agree, but I just kind of got into a rhythm where the finals were 2-3-2. And if you stole one at home, or you stole one on the road, now you can close out at home. I mean, I thought that was a pretty good advantage, and they did that for travel. But I guess Dallas to Boston, you can find one way trick. Look like Alcaraz won this. Dallas to Boston, I guess you can find nonstop flights there, so the travel isn't that much of an issue. Cleveland, before we get to this new segment, man, I got something to ask you. Pat Sajak ends his 41-year run with the Wheel of Fortune. Friday was his last show, this past Friday. I really thought game shows would have gone away by now. And that was just not that I thought this back then, but I thought, 2000, 2010, the game shows would kind of went away by now. We have, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire was a big one, right? Early in the century. Cleveland, what was some of the best game shows that you've seen over time?
Well, I am partial to Jeopardy as a game show, but I remember watching The Joker's Wild with my grandparents back in the day. Price is Right was always, the different contests they had on that, to spin the wheel and the mountain climber, and then when Bob would pull out the putter, and see if he could drop the 10-footer to give you get a little extra dough. He always liked to do that, kind of show off his short game. Thought that was cool. $25,000 pyramid. You kind of had to be kind of locked in. I guess those would be kind of my favorite.
But 25, the pyramid, like that person you had to pick.
Yeah, you had to be locked in.
The person you were playing with, like, they had to know their stuff. Like, that wasn't on you. That was on that person. Not only like kind of like charades. You can describe and act out the thing, but if that person is clueless, you're not winning anything. You know what I'm saying?
That's very true.
That was my thoughts on a pyramid. Like, it wasn't really a you situation. It was that other person's situation. That was my thoughts on the pyramid. But go ahead.
No, I guess that would kind of be my list of game shows that I really, kind of, I don't want to say like waited for or tuned into.
I
consistently
mean, some of
good.
this, we were forced to watch them. I mean,
Yeah.
we were forced to watch. It's on TV. My mom wasn't changing from Price is Right. Like, she wasn't changing from Channel 7 during the summertime. It was we were forced to watch Price is Right, and then those next couple soap operas. Like it was, we couldn't change the channel. But yeah, the Price is Right was excellent. I mean, yeah, you win a new car, you get to bid on these prices. Um, having lived in different parts of the country, the prices changed significantly. So those prices were obviously a Southern California price, but that was cool. And then the showcase showdown, and you get to see all these wonderful gifts. And fans, that ruined me. I always wanted to go to Puerto Vallarta because they always Price is Right always gave out trips to Puerto Vallarta. They always now I know why they were giving those trips away to Puerto Vallarta because Puerto Vallarta is very overrated. Puerto Vallarta, it is ghetto in Mexico. Fans, if you guys haven't been, don't book any trips to Puerto Vallarta. Okay, don't don't worry about that part of Mexico. I was very disappointed when I went to Porto. I was like, I'm finally going to Puerto Vallarta. Oh my goodness, I was so disappointed. Have you been to Porto?
I have not, but
Okay.
I can imagine. I've heard kind of that same disappointment story a few times now.
Don't go. Don't even bother yourself. I now know why Puerto Vallarta was always every week somebody was winning the trip to Puerto Vallarta with the prices right every single week. Family Feud has to have got. You didn't mention Family Feud. Like
Okay,
that
well,
was
you wanna see something funny. Oh boy. If you watch the old Family Feud episodes, man, Richard Dawson
oh yeah.
is a nut, man.
Yeah, he was
I mean, he is straight up just way over the top with all of this, man. And
hey,
it didn't matter what color they were,
the
it didn't
age,
matter whatever, he was on it, man.
yeah.
And by that third time, you could tell that he had probably had a few shots in the back, when they go to commercial, he was just extra just
Have
man.
you ever been to a game show? Have you ever seen the game show? A
No,
friend of mine.
I've never been a studio audience.
So interestingly enough, I've been to a few different ones. I've been to some game shows that were never aired, which was kind of it was kind of puzzling to me how they put all this production into a game show that doesn't see the light of day. It is never aired. Charles Barkley was a host. I was met Charles Barkley. He was a host of the game show, but that game show never was aired. It never aired. So a couple things is they shoot multiple games. Like I would did the Wheel of Fortune was the latest one I've been on. They shot like a week in a day. So they did like 4 or 5 games that one specific day. Vanna White would obviously go change outfit. Face AJ would obviously go change outfit, but the contestants as well would change their outfits because they're doing multiple shoots to make it look like it's a day. So these guys shoot not every day for 3 months and then have the rest of the year off because they shot so many shows within a day. Does that make sense?
Did not know that.
Yeah. So these studios, they're freezing. The people once you go in there, you can't leave. Like you only can leave during the intermission. Like when they go change clothes, then you can leave. But then it's a hustle. It's a hustle because they need everybody on back in their seat when the camera comes and do the pan around to make it. You see the people. They want those people. They're strategically put in there. Like they want right make it look like it's a rainbow of people in there, and to make it look like a lot of people. But they strategically seat you in those seats, so you can't leave. And it's about 40 degrees inside those studios as well. But they do them in multiple times. A friend of mine, my my guy, his wife, won. She won 12 grand on one sitting in uh the Wheel of Fortune, and then she has to sign the thing like she cannot. Wheel of Fortune runs not only Wheel of Fortune, but they run multiple game shows. So after she won, she cannot compete in any of these other game shows for like 18 months.
Oh wow.
Like, yeah, after you win, after she got cashed out, yeah, you can't come back here. you go somewhere. You can't come back here for a minute. But it was pretty interesting to kind of see how that went down. And I say all of that to say, like, I just want to stop Pat Sajak. Obviously, a 41 years run. Everybody has seen the Wheel of Fortune. Everybody's try to guess the puzzle. Everybody has done that. So I was just interested, Cleveland, from you as to what your best game show was. Joker's Wild. The game I liked was Pressure Luck. I don't know if you remember Pressure Luck was a different game. They had the whammies in there. I thought that was a pretty cool game too as well. But let's jump into this new segment, fans. Let's jump into this new segment. See if I can make this work. So the new segment is moments in time. Well, as sports fans, there's moments, and Cleveland touch on one of them. There's a lot of moments in history. We got a lot to choose from. There's a lot of not ammunition is the right word for them, but there's a lot to choose from with regards to moments in time. So I thought I'd pull this one out here. This particular franchise, there's not many moments. I'll go right off the bat and say there's not many moments, but I think Cleveland, just to get Cleveland's interest in this segment, we'll start one off like this. Looking at this, Cleveland, see if you can remember. Obviously, you'll see the moment. I want to get your feedback on the moment, but do you remember where you were when this was going down, when this moment happened? Do you remember? And there are moments everybody should know about them. This is not the Bronco, the white Bronco going down the 405. This is not that moment. Although that day was pretty infamous, right? Because they had the Rockets were playing that day. I think there was a hockey championship that day as well. This is not when the Miami Dolphins a game when the Miami Dolphins absolutely obliterated the Chicago Bears, who went on to win the Super Bowl championship that year. This is not. I'm talking about moments, not that game, right? We touched on a moment where Ty Lue was defending Allen Iverson and failed. And failed, and then Allen Iverson just kind of tripped over him almost.
Step over, they call that. That's what we call it, at least.
Oh, you dissing your own Laker brethren. That's what it sounded like to me. So moments in time, and just moments in within the sports history. So each Sunday from now to the NFL time, NFL season starts, we're going to give you moments in time. Here's the first moment, fans. Kick it off.
No balls and a strike to Martinez. Line drive, we are tied. Griffin is coming around. In the corner's Bernie. He's going to try to score. Here's the division championship. Mariners win it. Mariners win it.
All right, fans. I start off by telling you guys there's not many moments in that franchise history I can go to, Cleveland. But what do you recall about that moment in history?
Just how overly dramatic it was. It was such a come from behind victory. No one expected the Seattle Mariners to beat the vaunted New York Yankees. And as you kind of look back, you see 4 first ballot Hall of Famers on that team.
Right. Martinez
is there. Edgar Martinez is on that team. Alex Rodriguez is on that team. Randy Johnson had to come out and finish that one up after pitching the night before. So, that kind of stuff, very, very emotional. And, in
the dome, they were
still
in the dome.
Yeah, that kind of, I don't want to say launched a franchise, but, it had been just mired, in that, expansion label.
They're still in mediocrity. Mediocrity. Although they got a fancy new building that helped to build that.
They are the only team that's not been to a World Series. That's a terrible thing to have to say about yourself. But that moment in time was incredible.
Why couldn't they keep that team together? Was it just dollars? Was A-Rod one out? Randy Johnson, obviously they didn't pay him.
I think it was a lot of things going on with that team. The Randy Johnson thing got kind of personal with regards to kind of, what, was being misconstrued with what he wanted and adverse what the franchise needed. Ken Griffey kind of got tired of being a big fish in a small pond. This was always going to be a stepping stone for Alex Rodriguez. There was also
they drafted him. Alex Rodriguez was like Ken Griffey, where they drafted him young, right?
Yeah,
he played in the minors, he played.
He always had aspirations of being in a bigger market whenever the bigger market came calling. So, ironically, it wasn't the big market that initially got him away from Seattle. It was just the gigantic $250 million contract, like the first one, and then after that, he's still had aspirations for the the bright lights and went to New York, but. It was, Seattle's a small market, and, baseball, it wasn't, that moment kind of made baseball important to the city. But it still can't, match the, intensity of other locations. So subsequently, all of our big stars, less Edgar Martinez, ended up leaving at some point.
I mean, even before that,
but these are the biggest stars. I mean, these are like Hall of Fame stars, though. They didn't have Hall of Fame stars before that.
So that wasn't enough. That moment got them a new stadium, got them new uniforms and a new look. Who was the owner of was that Nintendo? Was that Sony? Who owned the Mariners at that in the 90s?
That was the owner right before Nintendo. Which is kind of what prompted Nintendo to purchase the team. I forgot that gentleman's name. Not that prevalent, wasn't like a high profile type of guy. Had made a lot of overtures to he was going to move the team to Tampa Bay. And then that's what ultimately led to the ownership change.
So where were you when that happened? Did you go to the series? Were you at any of those games? I mean, it was at the Dome.
I was watching that one with my dad. Probably, actually, I was at his apartment watching it just on television.
When Ken Griffey slide, I mean, did you expect? Because the Yankees weren't. Let's see, the Red Sox came and beat the Yankees in '94, right? So that the Yankees had 2 years removed from winning the series, weren't they?
No, so that's 95 that they did that. So then the Yankees go 96, 98, 99, 2000. So it was right before the Yankees won the World Series.
Did you? But no, I was beating the Yankees. That was the Yankees had won. The Yankees had won the World Series prior to that, didn't they? I thought Boston beat the Yankees, came back and won, beat the Yankees. They were down 3-1, came back and won in '94.
No, 94, there was no World Series.
So I was in Virginia at the time, and I was upstairs, downstairs, duplex, and my guy downstairs was a big baseball fan, big Yankee fan. He was from the Bronx. And so when the Mariners, like, he had to tell me that I wasn't tuning into I was not tuning in. He had to tell me, yo, the Mariners is about to win this. The Mariners was about to win this. So he's going crazy downstairs. And then he came up, you got to watch this. You got to watch this. And I was like, what? He's like, no, the Mariners is won. The Mariners just beat the Yankees. And I was floored because I didn't never expect this to happen. And regardless of the amount of talent they had on the team, my thoughts was they're going to cough it up anyway. They're just going to cough it up anyway. So that was where I was in again, my neighbor had to come tell me what was actually going on because I just wasn't following the Mariners that tough like that. But he was a big Yankee fan, and he kept me abreast of what was going on. But I certainly thought like that would have been the foray because Randy Johnson, he was who he was. We knew who Alex Rodriguez was. We know who King Griffey was. I wasn't sure that Edgar Martinez was going to be a Hall of Famer. Um, he can hit. He can hit a lot of singles, but I wasn't sure that was going to get you into the Hall of Fame. Just base hits. That's base hits get you in the Hall of Fame like that. I just didn't have that belief. As you continue to do that year after year after year, obviously it adds up. But I just wasn't convinced that was at the time. I'm speaking at the time in '95. He was just getting started, right? I wasn't sure that base hits year after year after year was gonna get that done. So when did Boston win that? When did Boston win? Now I'm looking now. 89 Oakland, the Reds in 90, Twins in 91, Toronto 92, Toronto 93. When did Boston come back and beat the Yankees? What year was that? Braves in 95, Yankees in 96, Florida Marlins in 97, Yankees in 98. Was that 2004? It was 2004 with Terry. A little too early. The Angels. You didn't expect the Angels to sneak in there and get one.
No, that 01 team that beat Barry Bonds.
I thought the Angels had two. No, they only got one. But that moment in time, I thought that was a pretty significant moment within.
It might be the 02 team. I think the Diamondbacks won it in 01. So Diamondbacks 01, and then
Angels
that Angels 02.
Florida again. Boston, yeah, that was 2004. Now Boston, that I did watch that series. I have to admit the 2004 series when they came back on the Yankees, I did. I was tuned into that and kind of quasi Red Sox fan. I mean, they had a bunch of characters on that team, and they took out the Yankees. I was excited about that. So anybody that takes out the Yankees, I was excited about it. And that's what brought out some excitement. I thought that Mariners team was going to be better. I thought they would go on to at least the next couple of years get to the World Series. They did. What year did they win? Was it 2001 that they did win all those games?
116 games.
And just couldn't get it done in the clutch, right?
True.
So I mean, are we seeing are you seeing now? How does that, what reverberates with the city more? The 116 win season or that 95 ALDS win?
The 95 was just so much more dramatic and unexpected that that definitely is a bigger moment in the city. I mean, just from like an emotional standpoint, the 116 was just like everyone was just in awe of just how dominant that team was. But like you said, it's a season as opposed to like a moment, so the moment will always be bigger, in my opinion.
So what do we see from the? Are you seeing? Is this 2024 Mariners team closer to the? Well, they're not the 95 team. They're closer to they're not the 2001 team. Where are they at in comparison on the barometer of Seattle Mariners team?
I think that everyone around here is supremely confident in their pitching staff, but that is about it. They still are 29th in the league in hitting. Julio Rodriguez has only got like I think 5 or 6 home runs to this point in the season. They still don't have a big bat in the middle of their lineup, so they can only go as far as their pitching can take them. But fortunately for Mariner fans, their pitching is historically good. So you just hope no one blows their arm out. We've already had our closer Munoz go down, and you've seen the the trickle down effect of that. They're starting to lose games they shouldn't lose, but they're still fortunately 5 games up in the American League West. This is certainly a team that you can get behind, and I hope that they make a decent trade at the trade deadline to try and get a bigger bat, or that someone that we just haven't seen to this point steps up and does something that we haven't anticipated them doing. But otherwise, they're just going to squander this unbelievable pitching staff.
And is the GM still not interested in making any moves? Is he still happy with winning 54% of the games?
He won't publicly say that, but the trade deadline will indicate where those guys stand. And if it's still about finances and it's not about winning, then they'll go get some mediocre type player to try and put in the middle of the lineup, hoping that they can create a spark. If they are truly trying to win, then they'll go get a big name that they have to trade, quite a bit of talent to get, and may not stay, after the season, but at least they're showing a commitment to trying to getting it done.
All right. Well, let's see what the Mariners, if they making an investment and show a commitment to this team to try to get something done for the city, for the team. I mean, make it attractive in August and September to go to the T-Mobile Arena and not see a high school level baseball there. I mean, maybe that should be of interest to somebody there in the Mariners front office there. Fans, want to thank you guys for tuning into the Voice of the Fans podcast. Thank you. Give yourself a round of applause for hanging with us. As I mentioned, or hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, hit the share button as well. Share it with the family, friends, anybody who's a sports fan. Help us out. Help your guy out. We just bring you this content a couple times a week, and this show is just meant to kind of whet your palate. Obviously, we have the NBA Finals going on tonight, but this is just to whet your palate into our full-length show Wednesday night. So look forward to talking to you Wednesday night, where we play our numbers game, give you this week in history, and also give you guys a quote to get through the week. This show, again, just meant to whet your palate. So, again, I appreciate it if you guys hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the share button. Let a friend know about the show if you like what you hear, you like the show. And as well, leave a comment, complaint, whatever your thoughts are. Leave them in the chat, whether it's on H&B Media TV, on YouTube page, at Voice of the Fans on YouTube page, or send us a inquiry at Voice of the Fans _ Voice of the Fans, excuse me, at _ Voice of the Fans on Twitter, at _ Voice of the Fans on Twitter. We appreciate your time. Thank you guys for tuning in. Cleavon, thank you for your participation today. Give yourself a round of applause. And we will chat at you guys on Wednesday. Thank you for tuning in. Go Dolphins.